Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there were two kingdoms with the worst relations. Humans lived in one kingdom, ruled by a greedy king, whose sight was set on the neighboring kingdom with vast wealth of beautiful nature. In this kingdom were the Moors, a vast variety of strange creatures living together in harmony and friendship that they needed neither a king or queen to rule over them. And one such being is this little girl, beautiful and kind, yet she is no ordinary girl, but a fairy. She heals a tree branch and flies in the sky. Her name is Maleficent, and her head is adorned with horns, and her majestic wings take her through the sky. She greets the other beings in the kingdom with affection, and on that day, she hears a commotion on the ground and heads down. The fairies inform her that the border guards have found a human in the pool of jewels. So Maleficent immediately flies there and calls the person out. This is when she meets the boy called Stefan. He calls the border guards hideous, and she tells him that is rude and asks him to return what he took. Stefan returns the stone, and Maleficent returns it to the pool. After this, she takes the boy out of their kingdom, and he tells her that someday he will be living in the castle of their kingdom. She learns that Stefan is an orphan, and she tells him that she has no parents either. He wishes to come back, and even though she tells him not to, he asks if she will be here when he comes. She gives a neutral answer, and they shake hands before going their ways. However, the ring Stefan wore hurts Maleficent, and she tells him that iron burns fairies. So Stefan immediately takes it off and throws the ring away and leaves. She was moved by this, and from the next day onwards, Stefan started visiting her. They played together and became close, forming a one-of-a-kind relationship. And as they grew up together, on her 16th birthday, Stefan gave her a kiss, saying that it's true love's kiss. However, Stefan never returned owing to his temptations of the human kingdom, and Maleficent grew to become the guardian of the Moors. She wandered alone, thinking where Stefan might be. Then one day, the human king brought his army to take on the Moors. Maleficent, the strongest of the Moors, gave them a warning, but the king was firm in his decision. Along with the border guards, she fought and took down the soldiers, but when she approached the king, his armor blew her away. The border guards took her side, and the king ran back using this chance. Back in the castle, the king rants about his failure to capture the Moors and asks his men who will come forward to avenge him. The king also mentions that the one who defeats the winged creature will have his throne and his daughter. This is heard by Stefan, who works as a servant in the castle. That night, he visits Maleficent and tells her that he came to warn her about the king's plans to kill her. She believed his words and let her guard down around him. Asking if she is thirsty, he hands her a drink, and she takes a sip without any worry. Little did she know that he had mixed a sleeping drug in it, and confirming that she is unconscious, he takes a knife, but he doesn't have it in him to end her, so he thinks of another plan and takes an iron chain. In the morning, Maleficent wakes up and finds her wings are gone. She cries in pain and agony, and at this time, Stefan presents her wings to the king, saying that he avenged him. The king praises him for his achievement and says that he will reward him as promised. Meanwhile, Maleficent struggles to move normally without her wings and transforms a branch as a staff and uses it to walk. She reaches an abandoned fort in the middle of the Moor kingdom, and a crow approaches her. She shoos it off, but then one day, she finds the crow caught in a net by a farmer and uses her powers to transform it into a man. The farmer runs away after seeing this, and Maleficent comes out to talk to the crow man. He questions her for changing his beautiful self. She asks if this is how he feels for saving his life. His name is Diaval, and tells her that he will be her servant for saving his life. Maleficent tells him to be her wings, and he takes his crow form and reaches the human castle. Stefan is crowned king on this day, and after learning the news from Diaval, Maleficent realizes that he took her wings so he could be king. She unleashes her powers, and Stefan views the green light from his castle. That day, darkness took over the Moor kingdom, as Maleficent took over her own throne. As time passes, Stefan and the queen have a daughter, and Diaval informs Maleficent about the baby. Also, that there will be a celebration in the kingdom. All the people visit the castle for the celebration. And three fairies, Knotgrass, Thistlewit, and Flittle also arrive there, wishing to grant their magic to the baby. Stefan is doubtful, but the queen agrees with them. Knotgrass grants the wish of beauty to the baby. Flittle grants her wish that the baby will stay happy all her life. But before Thistlewit could grant her wish, a strong wind blows around, and Maleficent arrives there. Stefan tells her that she is not welcome here. The queen asks her if she is not offended, and Maleficent laughs and tells them that she too will bestow her gift to the child. Stefan tells her that he doesn't want her to, too, and even the fairies join in against her. But Maleficent throws them off into a chest and looks at the baby. Maleficent overwrites the other gifts and says that the baby will indeed grow with beauty and happiness. Stefan and the Queen say that is enough, but seeing Stefan, Maleficent knows that it is not enough, and she spots a spinning wheel on the side. She channels all her power to say that on the sunset of her 16th birthday, the princess will prick her finger on the spindle of the spinning wheel, and she will fall into a sleep like death that she will never awaken. Stefan tells her not to do this, and Maleficent asks him to beg. Before his citizens, Stefan gets on his knees and begs for her not to do this, and Maleficent changes her mind. She modifies her bestowal, saying that the princess can be woken from her death like sleep, but only by true love's kiss. She bestows the curse, saying that no power on earth can change it, and it has no expiry date. Following this, Stefan ordered his men to seize every spinning wheel in the kingdom and burn them in the deepest dungeon in the castle. He also entrusted the baby to the 3 fairies, and who will hide her away for 16 years and a day. Stefan hid himself in the castle and ordered his soldiers to attack the Moors. But Maleficent created a boundary of thorns to stop any human from getting close to the kingdom. The fairies took the baby to a cottage in the middle of the forest, and they took on human forms to care for the child. Maleficent came to take a look and tried to scare the child, but it only smiled looking at her. Soon, the baby started crying, and the fairies had no idea how to take care of the baby. Maleficent couldn't handle the crying either, and asked Diaval to get a milk flower, and the baby finally stopped crying. The next day, Maleficent played pranks on the fairies by making it rain inside the cottage. She thought it was funny, but Diaval did not. However, Stefan still hadn't stopped, and he ordered his soldiers to burn down the boundary. They thought they had won, but Maleficent used her powers to take them down. The soldiers reported to Stefan about their failure, and he simply called them useless. Right then, he recalled Maleficent's weakness and called for their iron workers. The baby grew well under the naive care of the fairies, and as Maleficent looked after her as well. Her name was Aurora, and one day she spotted Maleficent outside the cottage. Maleficent told her to go away, but Aurora seemed fascinated to see her and even told her to pick her up and touched her horns. As Aurora grew, Diaval came to play with her, and she was away from the castle and basked in nature. Years passed like that, and Aurora turned 15 like that. Maleficent always looked after her, and Aurora always wondered what lay beyond the thorns. The soldiers were always around the boundary as well, and that day they spotted Aurora. Maleficent turned Diaval into a wolf, and when the soldiers turned hearing the howl, she used the chance to take Aurora float unconscious. Maleficent used her powers to throw the soldiers, and she tried touching their armor, but she was still weak to the iron. Diaval protested for turning him into a wolf, and Maleficent took Aurora inside more. She hid and awoke Aurora, who was fascinated by everything around her. The creatures came to play with her, but they flew away after sensing Maleficent. Aurora called out to her, and as she came out, Aurora smiled, calling her fairy godmother. Diaval arrives there, and Aurora smiles, recognizing the bird. She is surprised when he takes his human form, and he tells her that he knew her since she was little. As Aurora gets excited and runs towards Maleficent, she makes her unconscious and takes her back to the cottage. Back at the castle, Stefan locks himself in the tower, and when his servant calls for him that the queen is on her deathbed, he tells him to leave and stays back to talk with Maleficent's wings. In the following days, Aurora visits Moor to play, accompanied by Maleficent. She comes to like Aurora, and one night, she even tries to revoke the curse she placed on her, but she fails to do so. Aurora continues to visit the Moors, and she asks Maleficent why she doesn't have wings as a fairy. Maleficent only tells her that they were taken from her, and she does not wish to talk about it. Meanwhile, Stefan has trouble sleeping and forces the iron workers to continue working without rest. Seeing that Aurora will be almost 16, Maleficent felt like explaining about the curse to her, but Aurora stops her and says that she wishes to live with her in the Moor when she gets older. Maleficent tells her that she need not wait until she is older and she can stay here now. Aurora gets excited and leaves, saying that she will inform her aunties tomorrow. That day, a young man reaches the forest, and he comes across Aurora practicing her dialogues. Aurora gets startled by him, and he asks her for directions to the castle. She shows him the way and learns his name, Philip, and he learns of her name as well. He bids her farewell and says that he will be back here soon. Maleficent and Diaval see this, and he tells her that he could be the one to break the curse. But Maleficent tells him that there is no such thing as true love's kiss. He tells her that might be the case for her, but for Aurora, he might be the only chance. Back in the cottage, the fairies are discussing whether they leave for the castle today on Aurora's birthday or tomorrow. Aurora arrives right then and informs them that she is leaving home. Hearing this, Knotgrass makes a blunder saying that they will be taking her to her father. Aurora is shocked since they told her that her parents were dead. They explain the whole thing to her, and Aurora goes to find Maleficent asking about her curse. Aurora gets heartbroken to find that she was the one who cursed her. While Maleficent tries to touch her, Aurora tells her to stop saying Maleficent is evil and runs off. Maleficent could only watch, and she asks Diaval to find Philip. Aurora takes a horse and goes towards the castle, but she did not receive the welcome she expected, and Stefan simply told the guards to lock her up in her room. Aurora is locked up, and she searches for a way out, and a servant opens the hidden door, and she runs away. In the forest, Philip runs into Maleficent and she makes him unconscious. She turns Diaval into a horse and they ride to the castle. Meanwhile, the curse takes effect and Aurora follows the voice calling for her. The maid searches for her, but Aurora ends up in the dungeon filled with the destroyed spinning wheels. The curse creates a spinning wheel before her and Aurora pricks her finger on the spindle and falls unconscious. Maleficent could sense her curse has taken effect, and it is only then the maid finds Aurora. At night, Maleficent reaches the castle and heads inside. The king blames the fairies for failing to keep their promise and walks away. Maleficent finds a maze filled with iron thorns in front of her and crosses them carefully inside the castle. She drops Philip in front of a room, and the fairies take him inside and tell him to kiss Aurora, explaining about the curse. Maleficent and Diaval sneak inside to watch, but they are disappointed to find that Aurora did not wake up after the kiss. The fairies chase Philip out, and Maleficent walks out asking for forgiveness from Aurora for doing this to her. Saying this, she cries and kisses her goodbye, but surprisingly, Aurora wakes up and tells her to stop. Maleficent is surprised, and Diaval says that there is no truer love than this. Meanwhile, the soldiers inform Stefan about Maleficent. Aurora wishes to return to the moor with her, but an iron chain falls on Maleficent, trapping her. Aurora tries to stop the soldiers from hurting her, but they carry her away. Maleficent uses her power to change Diaval into a dragon. He breathes fire to keep the soldiers away and takes the chain off of Maleficent. Aurora runs upstairs away from the chaos. The soldiers manage to keep Diaval from spewing fire and surround Maleficent with iron shields. In the room, Aurora finds huge wings kept inside a cage. She takes a close look to find the wings moving. Stefan arrives clad in iron armor to fight Maleficent. Aurora pushes the cage down and releases the wings. Maleficent feels weak, surrounded by iron around her, and Stefan feels powerful standing before her. He throws her using the chains, and before he could end her, her wings come flying to attach on her back. Maleficent feels powerful again and flies as she finds Aurora watching her. She flies around, escaping the soldiers' weapons, and cuts off a chandelier, which falls near Diaval and makes the soldiers let him loose. Stefan throws the chain, which latches onto her leg, but Maleficent manages to tow him down and flies outside the castle, with Stefan still hanging down. She lands on one of the towers, but she cannot find herself killing the man she loved. So she tells him it's over and leaves. But Stefan holds on to her and they fall off the tower. When Maleficent breaks free, Stefan falls to his death. As the sun rises, Aurora watches Maleficent take down the boundary between their kingdoms. The beauty and life return to Moor as it once was, and Maleficent crown Aurora their queen, announcing that their kingdoms are united. The creatures of Moor rejoice, and Philip is invited as well. Maleficent and Diaval take to the skies together, and the movie ends with them scaling the skies. It was quite a fantasy film, with Angelina Jolie breathing life into the character of the fairy queen. I just found out that there is a part 2 of this movie as well. We'll return with that soon, and leave a like and a few comments for this Moor fellow, and subscribe to the channel for more recaps. Until next time, this is your host for Movie Recap, signing off.